Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be covering the Shanghai Trophy for the first time on the podcast, so that's exciting. We don't have the Shanghai Trophy every single year. We had it last year, and then we have it again this year. And I totally skipped it last year, didn't watch any of the performances, wanted to wait and see a lot of these performances when they were debuted later in the season, Grand Prix, at Nationals, what have you. But this year wasn't another challenger competing with it this weekend, so I thought, why not watch it and cover it too? So this particular event, it's an ISU event, just like we have Worlds and Challengers series in terms of an ISU sanctioned event. However, there are only 5 judges on the panel here versus 7 judges that we see in the Challengers and 9 judges that we see in the Grand Prix series and in ISU championships. So there's not tech minimums here. These are not going to be scores that count towards personal best or anything like that. But it's a really fun event, a great way to see some teams debuting some programs. And so let's get into it. We'll start with the smallest field. Each discipline has 1 flight of skaters. So in the pairs field, that's just simply 4, which means only 1 team does not get on the podium here. So the winners here were Maria Pavlova and Alexei Sievchenko of Hungary. And this wasn't their strongest performance in either program, really. We have seen them already this season. So this is my second time seeing this short program. It's Kiss by Tom Jones and also Sex Bomb. And their technical elements were really strong as usual. Nice unison on their side-by-side triple toes. Very well landed throw triple flip. And then things kind of fell off a little bit from there. They actually fell out of their death spiral, which I've never seen them do that before. I think it was just maybe a fluke. They end up losing that element completely. Overall, I'm sorry, but this is just a ridiculous program. I think I could get over the Kiss section, but the Sex Bomb is just completely absurd. And they were number 1 in PCS, which, okay. There's only 3 other teams that they're competing with here, and none of them were clean. They were still sub 30 in their PCS, which if you want to know, like, how does that compare with the top teams in the world? Well, those teams are going to see 34 to 36 points oftentimes in their PCS when we're talking about Mira Kihara, Nikita Volodin, and Minerva Hasi, Deanna and Max. I mean, those are teams that are going to get in the mid 30s. And so they're still not, they didn't score high here in PCS by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just kind of weird, that this program was number 1 in PCS. I get it. For the short program, that was not the case in the long program, at least. So their long program, if you haven't seen it yet, they are skating to Pirates of the Caribbean. And it's funny because, I did this Michelle Kwan career look back over this summer. And one of the things that was a really big deal that Christine Brennan talks about in her book that I talked about on the podcast was working on Michelle's styling. That sort of helped her transform in the judges' minds from a junior skater to a senior skater. Even though she had been on the senior circuit for a couple of seasons, that big glow up that she had in between the 95 and 96 seasons. And one of the things was putting her hair in a bun. And that may seem like the most ridiculous thing. And Frank was so anal about it to the point that he was upset with her for showing up for a practice one time in front of a judge in a ponytail. And so I was thinking about that. As I was watching Maria and Alexei, Maria still wears like a ponytail. And I just thought, they're already a younger team. They tend to not pick great music for them to use. On top of it, I'm like, maybe it's time for them to ditch the ponytail in favor of a bun or even a French brace, something that might give a little bit different styling that doesn't give the immaturity young look. Just a thought that I'm throwing out there. All right. it's not, I mean, changing her hair is not going to fix the choreography. Okay. The choreography is still going to be an issue with this program, but just something to consider. So, again, they had some issues here, which was unlike them that we normally see. She landed kind of wonky on her triple Salchow and actually ended up with an undercall. The group 5 lift just did not go as planned. Normally, they would want her to catch her foot in that position, and it just didn't seem secure. It seemed like it came down a little bit early. Their forward outside death spiral that they do is so ugly. It looks like Deanna's death spiral looked at the beginning of last season into the season prior to that. They really worked hard to get that position a lot lower and where it wasn't so distracting. Right now, Maria's position, she's just so high up. They ended up getting a base level on that. They didn't satisfy any of the features at all. The end of the program, especially, it just feels really rushed. It looks like they stumbled a couple of times in the choreography sequence, so they ended up with negative GOE. The final spin was really slow, and they never established that last position either. That affected their score. And just overall, the program is just not very mature, and it really suffers when they make mistakes. Like, they can kind of pull it off a bit when everything's clean. It makes the program a little bit more exciting than maybe it really is. But in this particular competition, it was really messy. And ultimately, they were really lucky that Bakari and Garizi, who finished second, had a lot of mistakes. So in second place here was the reigning European champions, Lucretia Bakari and Matteo Garizi from Italy. In their short program, they are skating to Riverdance. So this is Real Around the Sun, same piece of music that you're seeing Sarah Everhart use this year. And popular Riverdance music. Like, if people skate to Riverdance, it's usually this piece of music. The twist looked really good here in the short program. Don't know what happened to it in the long program, but here it looks really good. The side-by-side triple toe was very nice, and the throw triple loop was also very good. The issue for them, their lift, the exit just was not as smooth as it could be. She landed on 2 feet instead of 1. And then after that, he kind of stumbled transitioning from the lift to the death spiral. And it just really messed up their timing going into the death spiral. And they ended up with a base level on it. And their side-by spins were off. And so was their ending pose. So not ending the way that they would have liked it, but they still seemed like they felt pretty good about it. In their free skate, they're skating to Romeo and Juliet. So thankfully, we have seen the last of Cats from them, which was such a disaster a lot of the times last year. So this is going to be a much better vehicle for them. If I had a criticism for it, it's the musical arrangement is just a bit weird to me. They're really skating to like really pretty music for the most of it, and then they choose to use this really dramatic piece at the end, and it just feels kind of jarring, like it comes out of nowhere. There's really no build to it. It's a minor nitpick, and it might be something they smooth out over the season, or once the program comes together a little bit more, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. They were very conservative here technically. They just did a triple toe, single axle, and side-by-side double Salchows. Their twist here was not as successful as it was in the short program, had a low catch on it. Both of their throws were done really well. One of their lifts, their reverse lasso lift, just to me, she needs an actual split position. Like, she's not really in, if they're going for a split position, maybe that's not what they're going for, but it just looks awkward. It looks like her legs are in a V, and most of the other pairs that do that very same variation of the lift that they're doing, they're in more of a split position, and it just looks so much prettier. Whereas here, it just looks like it's not finished. So I think there's other ways they can do the lift that's not a split, but what they're doing right now just aesthetically doesn't look great. Again, it's more of a nitpick, but they did win the PCS in this segment. And honestly, they probably would have won the competition if not for a few hiccups. Their death spiral in the short program that they got a base level on, and then their twist in the free skate that they got negative GOE on was really the difference between them being second here and winning. Of course, Pavlov and Shevchenko also made some mistakes too. It's early in the season. It's not like a major competition, but it was great to see both of their new programs. And third place here was Yang and Ding. And so I know probably a lot of questions as to why did they get picked over a team like Peng and Wang, who were the number one Chinese team last year. And the rumor has it that they have split up. Now, it has not been confirmed, but I've seen multiple people basically say that Peng and Wang are no longer, which is very unfortunate. It seemed like they only lasted a very short period of time. So they are not here. I do feel like I'm seeing an overall improvement in Chinese pairs overall. I think the best Chinese pair team that I have seen this season is actually in juniors, and that is Zhang and Huang. They are very strong, great side by side jumps, triple sows, and triple toes. So they are the most exciting thing that I've seen in Chinese pairs. But overall, I am seeing an improvement with some of the other Chinese pair teams as well. I'm very glad to see them here. I would still like to see them in the challengers. I just don't know why they don't give them more international experience. But this team is also very young. They're just 17 and 20. They could be on the junior circuit as well. So in their short program, they're skating to a piece of music called Spring Blossom. They just did side by side double flips. So that's going to be something that's going to hold this team back, is technically just not there at all with the side by side jumps. They, like a lot of Chinese pairs, have good throws, really nice lift. They had this really quick entry from like an upside down position and just straight up into the full position in their lift, no hesitation. I thought they had a lot of confidence in several of their elements, which I really like to see, because again, that's been something that some of the Chinese pairs we've seen the last couple of seasons have just been very tentative. We just haven't really seen confidence going out there and really performing to their best. And so I did like that from this team. In their free skate, they're skating to music from the artist. It was a bit up and down. Beautiful lifts, but just side by side double toe, single axle combo, and then side by side double sow cows. Their first four elements got 0 GOE. So they got them done, but the judges weren't excited enough to reward them any points for it. And that was their twist, their throw triple sow, and both of their two side by side jumps. They did do a throw triple Lutz, which traditionally with Chinese pairs, we would see, not a lot of throw flips and throw Lutzes. But she actually got like a rare cue call on that. And you could really see it clearly on the replay that she landed on 2 feet and just didn't get that complete full rotations, all 3 rotations on that element. So it does happen, but it is rare to see a call on the quarter on a throw. But they did well enough here to finish third and ahead of the American team, and that was Emily Chan and Spencer Howe. They were fourth in the short program. They did finish third in the free skate, but not enough to pull themselves up to third. They lost by 14 hundredths of a point. So it was very close between them and the Chinese pair. So I feel like every year Spencer has given us a different look. He had long hair one year, then he cut the hair. This year was rocking the short hair again with a little bit of facial hair. So you just kind of never know what Spencer's going to bring to the table. They do have 2 new programs. I did wonder if they were going to keep the programs that they did last season, because we just saw the short program twice at Nationals and at Worlds, and we just saw the free skate at Worlds because they didn't perform it at Nationals. But nope, 2 completely new programs. Their short program is To Give Me Love by Ed Sheeran. I think it's a cool program for them, but just everything was a struggle. The twist looked messy in the air, and honestly, that was their best element. The throw triple loop had a really rough fall. Emily opened up on her side-by-side triple toe. I feel like they do better with they do the triple toe first, which is what they did in the free skate. Or perhaps they need some space between the twist, the throw, and the side-by-side jump. Like, it's just like too many elements back to back. A lot of pair teams do it, but it doesn't mean that it's a successful strategy for every single pair team. And it's something that Emily usually is the weaker of the two, but they have both struggled on side-by-side jumps really just the entirety of their careers. And oftentimes, if they get it out of the way first, which is what some of the Chinese pair teams do that struggle with it as well, it seems like it might be a little bit more successful. But it definitely did not work for them here. The lift also had some issues, just did not go up smooth. It went up kind of rough. It came down okay. And then just stylistically, the way that they perform, really both of their programs, like in the footwork in this short program, like Spencer is at like an 11 and Emily is at like a 7. And I just need them to match more because it just comes off very almost like they're doing two different things, even though they're in unison and they're doing the same choreography, but it just doesn't feel like they're performing the same program almost. And that's a problem. And so, like I said, it was a rough program. The only positive GOE they got was on the twist and on the step sequence. That was it. So, not a great skate. Spencer seemed like he was okay after it. Emily looked kind of pissed. I don't know if she was upset with herself or what exactly. Seemed to have a little bit better energy in the long program. This program is to Lo Cesaro by Andre Bocelli, which I would have been fine if they would have repeated their free skate from last season, but I'm also fine not hearing Exogenesis number 3 again as well. They do start with the side-by-side jumps here. She only did a double toe in that double toe, double axle combo that they had planned. Put a hand down on the throw triple flip. She stepped out of the throw triple loop. The combo spin was not even a combo. They just did one variation, so they didn't get any credit for it. It was weird. I didn't understand what happened there. If they were off or exactly what went on there. There's got to be at least 3 revolutions. There's got to be a change of foot. There was no change of foot. I don't know. Maybe it was just a fluke. Obviously, this is not something I ever recall them losing before. So it was just kind of went the way of other parts of the program, I guess. But again, the lifts, they just don't look confident going up. They're fine once they're in the air. They're fine coming down. But the entry just makes me nervous. So I don't know if it's because as far as I understand, like Spencer says the shoulder was good. At least he did back at Worlds. That was back in March. Here we are in October. So I'm sure that part of it is they need a lot more competition mileage at this point. I mean, only competed a couple times last year. They didn't really compete a whole lot the year before that. I mean, they did the Grand Prix. I can't remember if they did challengers going into that year or not, but definitely probably a little rusty in that. So we'll see. This is going to be a really important year for them because they're great individual skaters, but I feel like it's a challenge for them at times to really skate well together. You know, I feel like Spencer kind of overperforms and she underperforms, and you know the choreography is good, but it's just not coming together for them. And they were kind of team number 1 going into last year. They got the benefit of the doubt last year at Nationals because they had that top 5 finish at Worlds the year prior. And I think them getting the pass to go to Worlds was warranted. There wasn't really another team that you could say that you would have put there in their place. You know, you could have put Chelsea Liu and Balaj Naj there, but you know, they weren't exactly the picture of consistency either. But the pairs field looks to be a lot stronger this year. I mean, Ellie and Danny look very strong in what we've seen them so far. We've got Alicia Efimova, Mitra Mitrofanoff. We've got Katie McBeath and Danelle Parkman. So Chelsea Liu and Balaj Naj split, but he has now been paired up with Audrey Shin. Now, they were competing domestically this weekend. They've still got a ways to go. I don't know that we'll see them internationally at a later challenger like Golden Spin or not. They might to get them tech minimums if they feel like they could be a team that could potentially qualify for Worlds. I think it's probably a year too early for them. There's only 2 spots this season. You know, last couple of seasons, they were able to get 3 spots to go to Worlds. You only got 2 spots this season. I think that the benefit of the doubt for this team might be gone, but we'll see. we'll see. They've got a lot to clean up between now and Skate Canada when we will see them again. All right, let's move on to the dance event. So 5 teams were scheduled to compete here, but we had big news come out just a couple of days before the Shanghai Trophy about Nikolai Sorensen. So Lawrence Fournier-Beaudry and Nikolai Sorensen were scheduled to compete here and make their season debut. And then on Wednesday, October 2nd, it came down that Nikolai had been suspended indefinitely. And that comes with a minimum sentence of 6 years for sexual maltreatment. And this, for me, was a surprise, not because of the allegations in the investigation, but in terms of the speed at which this all transpired. Because if we think about what we have seen from previous safe sport investigations, it has been a very slow process. But this was not just reported to Safe Sport. It was also reported to Canada's Office of the Sport Integrity, OSIC. And so it was that particular office that handed down the suspension. So they have a much swifter investigation than what we've seen out of Safe Sport, as we saw earlier this year with Gracie Gold finally getting justice like 7 years later or something like that after she filed her complaint. So very swift here. 6-year ban takes him out of basically the rest of his career. I mean, he's already in his 30s at this point. So this is, I'm sure he can appeal. My understanding is he will not be allowed to skate during the appeal process. So unless something massive changes here, that's a wrap for this team. And while Lawrence is an amazing skater, it's hard to imagine that she's going to find another partner at this point in her career. And of course, she's romantically involved with Sorensen. So definitely my heart goes out to her. It's an unfortunate situation for her to be in. And then we did get a statement from the survivor of this ordeal, and it was published by Christine Brennan on, I believe, the next day, on the 3rd. And so this is what the survivor said. Dear figure skating community, thank you to everyone who has sent their support to me. It really helped me through the darkest days of this past year, and I greatly appreciate the kind words. First and foremost, I want to thank my U.S. attorney, Nancy Hogshed, who was my rock throughout this process and without whom I could never have seen this through to the end. Her guidance and the truth of what happened has kept me going through the hardest days. I also want to thank the OSIC provided therapist and attorney who went above and beyond their required hours to support me out of the goodness of their hearts. You were integral to this process. I want to thank OSIC for their thorough and fair process. While it was daunting, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that abuse must be treated with extreme caution and cannot be rushed. I hope the respondent will be able to finally take accountability for his actions and seek help to become a safe member of society outside of our sport. My thoughts are with Lawrence Fournier-Beaudry, who has unfairly had to endure the trauma of this case. A word to figure skating fans. Please refrain from bullying or retaliation against anyone who appeared in photos with the respondent since the news broke. Skaters forced to train alongside or compete with him were put in an impossible situation. The responsibility of creating a safe environment lied primarily with the coaches and Figure Skating Federation. Fellow athletes should not be blamed for any proximity to the respondent or silence on the matter. I hope the respondent's coaches will reflect on how they handled the situation and the importance of their role as a leading ice dance program. The same responsibility belongs to figure skating commentators who downplayed the severity of the allegations during the airing of the World Figure Skating Championships. I am sure that I am not the only survivor who is distraught to hear the supportive comments made about them on the air, completely belittling the experience of rape survivors and promoting the dangerous culture of victim silence in our sport. Please believe survivors and continue to support safe sport measures across borders and sports. So, really powerful statement from the survivor. I know some of my listeners had different opinions about my thoughts on the situation as well. And I was certainly frustrated that they didn't say anything on the broadcast either during Worlds. It was what it was. We can move on from it now. Hopefully, now that ascendance has been handed down. The one thing that I will say before I move back on to Shanghai Trophy coverage is that it is unfortunate that we've not gotten any kind of statement from him, or maybe even more importantly, from Ice Academy of Montreal, who I felt like kind of went out of their way to support him, especially at the Four Continents last year, just weeks after it had the news of this particular investigation broke. Both Marie-France and Patrice were in the kiss and cry with him, which was a very rare to see both of them in the kiss and cry together. So, we'll see what kind of fallout, if any, we get from that, but definitely had to address it because they were scheduled to compete here. And obviously at this point, they have been removed and withdrawn from the Grand Prix, and other teams have been put in their spots. All right, moving on to the teams that were here. So, winners here were Charline Guinard and Marco Fabri of Italy, as expected. And so their rhythm dance, the first two songs are from the 60s, and then the last song is from 1978. So it's like a whole different vibe. It's also a really short piece, just like right at the end. They only use it for the choreographic rhythm sequence. And they perform it very well. I just feel like this program is missing something. It doesn't hold my attention from beginning to end. And it should, because they're a really fantastic team. And it's a complete 180 from how I feel with their free dance, which this is my second time seeing the robot. And I liked it the first time, but I feel like I liked it even better this time. And I can't wait to see how it stacks up when we see Piper and Paul and Madison and Evan. It's definitely better than my first impression of what I've seen of Fear and Gibson's free dance this season. The stationary lift at the end is just so cool. Yes, they did it last year, but I think the jumpsuit that Charline is in this year just really helps me appreciate it more than the dress that she had last year that I feel like covered up part of it. Of course, they had that whole famous thing where they got stuck, the dress got stuck on her skate at the end in that same lift at Worlds. The whole ending sequence is just really cool with their character step and the choreographic dance lift that they do. I'm just, like I said, I'm so interested to see, we won't see it, how it stacks up against these other teams until Grand Prix final. Madison and Evan originally, like a month ago, were announced to have competed in this, but obviously that did not happen, and we'll see them in a couple weeks at Skate America. But I'm interested because I think, the judges may not be excited about it, but I think that it's a kind of program, kind of like Fear and Gibson's Rocky last year, they can kind of sneak up on some of these teams that they've been trying to get past. All right. The second place team here was L'Opereva Impresso of France. And so in their rhythm dance, they are doing something called Night Flight to Venus, which is another, I think it's a French artist that they're using. It's techno. It has kind of this weird robotic kind of start. I mean, I'm just like, leave them to do something just completely out of the box, and it will stand out because it is different. It was not super sharp here. The most interesting thing that come out of this for me was, as I was watching this routine, my daughter goes, "Oh, I've heard this song before," and I'm like, "Really?" So yeah, she's like, "Yeah, I heard it on like a YouTube video." I was like, "Okay, interesting." So yeah, it was. I'm gonna have to think on it. I felt the same way about their rhythm dance last year. Their free dance is to a French composer that's boyfriend. It's like boyfriend with no vowels, basically. It's like a French composer. He composes everything from electropop to techno to classical. So this was weird, which is, again, right up their alley, and that's not a knock. I think the piece is super interesting. They used three pieces of music. So the first piece is very techno. The straight line lift is very strong. She's upside down. It goes really well with the music. I think their twizzles finish right on a beat of the music. The 1 foot turn sequence is a place where I don't feel like it really fits with the music. The second piece of music really works for me. The music is like, it's less techy, it flows better. I think it's a nice showcase for their speed. The rotational lift and the midline step is very effective with the music. And then the ending song is kind of techno again. It's very cool, but right now altogether, it just feels like it's a bit of a strange combination of pieces to me. But I do like it, and I really admire their commitment to the program. So this is a program I would love to know. If you saw it, what do you think about it? Because I feel like it's one of those that maybe you don't have an opinion the first time you see it. Like I had to watch it twice. All right. In third place here was a Chinese dance team, brand new team, Ren and Zing. They were just announced in June of this year. So I'm sure the question then becomes kind of like with Peng and Wang. Why aren't Wang and Lu here? Well, that's a whole nother drama as well. They have also been rumored to split, although it hasn't been confirmed, and I think the rumors are less strong for their split than it is for Ping and Wang. But there was this whole issue back in the spring where someone like hacked his Instagram account and put a lot of allegations about him and some mistreatment of young females. And so that is being investigated, and they are not going to be competing anytime soon, if ever. So that's why we don't see Wang and Lu. China is going to be looking for a new number one ice dance team. So their rhythm dances to Hotel California by the Eagles might be fantastic. Unfortunately, because I wasn't watching this live, I was relying on videos on YouTube, and there was no music. I guess this is the Eagles, I think, is another one kind of like Prince. It gets a lot of copyright violations. So I just saw it with no music. So it's not quite as effective that way. I suppose I could have turned on Hotel California, but I don't know exactly what cuts they were using. So don't have a really great critique of that one. Their free dance, however, I thought was a really, really nice program. Love their 1 foot turn sequence. They have this beautiful stationary lift. I love their twizzles. They have this knee slide like in between their first and second set of twizzles, and it doesn't even throw them off. I just really like their music a lot. I thought their music during the character step was just a little chaotic, but I felt like it still worked. So I really liked this team. They looked really strong. They looked like they meshed together really well. They must have had some really good work and some good experience with previous partners. And this partnership looks to me like it will work just right. And then in fourth place was another Chinese pair team. And this was Zhao and He of China. They were third after the rhythm dance, but fell to fourth place after the free dance. So the rhythm dance is to Fever from Peggy Lee in 1958, which I'm surprised we haven't heard a lot of this because Fever is really popular music, something everybody knows and can kind of get into. So I actually really liked it from them. They also use Hit the Road Jack. I think great choice. Very different vibe than the sock hop or the disco, which is where a lot of ice dance teams have kind of gone. They use a remix, and I'm like, what's the rule on the remix? Because I know with some of the 80s that people were using like covers of 80s songs that weren't really done in the 80s. Like I can't remember what team it was that was using like a Glee cover. Was it Quinard and Fabry? It might have been Quinard and Fabry that were using it. So I don't know exactly what the rule is on the remixes. I know this season that everybody had to run their music through a clearinghouse in order to be able to use it. So it actually was a whole big thing with Hossie and Boladin a couple of weeks ago at Nebelhorn because their music wasn't cleared and they had to switch it. You couldn't tell me. But that is a thing this year that hopefully, like fingers crossed, that will maybe help some of these issues that we have had with not being able to see replays and having issues on YouTube. Like, hope, fingers crossed. But I just thought that this particular rhythm dance just had a lot of sass and a lot of performance. So I really, really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, could not find a video anywhere of their free dance. So I have no idea exactly what happened in the free dance that caused them to be fourth. Looking at their scoring sheets, they had a big twizzle error, but I don't know exactly what that looked like because I didn't see any video, unfortunately. So that was the one program out of the whole event that I was not able to watch. All right, so that was the ice dance. So let's move on to the men. So this event was won by Junwon Cha of South Korea. And second time I've seen him this season, and a much better outing for him than the previous one was for sure. Part of it was the short program. So he's skating to Natural by Imagine Dragons. I feel like he's kind of going through the motions a little, especially in the first half. He's just not quite connecting with the music yet. Here he had dumped the quad toe again, which he tried to do at the challenger he was at earlier in the season. I can't remember if that was Lombardi or Nebelhorn. They all kind of run together at some point, but he was back to doing the triple Lutz triple loop, which is just much more successful for him. In the free skate, he did go for the quad toe, had another hard fall. It just feels like it's not working. I do feel like he landed it in the free skates at, what challenger was that? Okay, it was Nebelhorn. And he fell on the quad toe there too. So it hasn't gone well for the better part of a year. So I'm not saying take it out, but every time he falls on a quad, I'm just like, where's go back to Brian. I know that it's probably not it, but it just feels like when he left Brian, this jump fell apart. So, but that was the only real issue. I mean, he had a couple of calls, but no other major errors. I don't know how I feel about this tango program that he's doing. I don't think it's a bad program, but it just doesn't feel like Junwon. Like, I don't know. I was just so excited a couple of seasons ago with like the Michael Jackson short program and the James Bond free skate, and he can do a lot of different styles. Like, I think the Batman would have worked just fine last year in the Masquerade Waltz if, he had been more consistent with his jumps. This, I don't know how I feel about this tango yet. It's another one I'm kind of like the French dance team. Like, what do you think about this, guys? What are you thinking? I'm on the fence. In second place here was Denis Vasiliev of Latvia. In his short program, he gets a lot of like distance and good speed on his triple Lutz triple toe. I'm still not sold on this music choice for him. He really tries to sell it. I mean, the best way I can describe it is like techno rock. I don't know. It's not my favorite Dennis program. In the free skate, he actually landed the quad sow, but it was called under. Even with that, I thought it looked good. Plus, he had a triple axel, double axel, and a triple Lutz triple toe. I mean, he just started so well. He kind of fell off a little bit after that. His flip was wonky. He got an under on his triple loop. But again, kind of like Junwon, no major errors. It's a better tech performance than what we've been seeing. It was still about 12 points under his personal best. So there's still growth and room for him to do better. But it was so much better than what we saw from him at whatever challenger he was at. Jeez. Nebelhorn. He was a Nebelhorn too. Okay. So he finished right ahead of Junwon at Nebelhorn, and he finishes behind him here. In third place was Jason Brown, who is, to me, he's worth the price of admission alone, right? So his short program is The Legend of Tarzan. So last season at Shanghai Trophy, he debuted a free skate to Tarzan. And it wasn't overly well received. I actually never watched it because I was waiting to see it at Nationals. And then he went back to the Impossible Dream. So I think they've kind of repackaged that and turned it into a short program. And so starts off with a triple flip. Unfortunately, he fell on the triple axel. The triple Lutz triple toe was solid. The footwork sequence was good, but it was so slow. I'm guessing that that's going to improve over the course of the season. I love Jason's catch foot position in his camel. It's better than most, like, in any discipline. It's so fantastic. Love the ending pose. And my daughter, who again was watching this with me, she goes, his bodysuit is really weird. It looks like his skin. And I was like, well, honey, it's actually a top and pants. It's not a bodysuit. but it does kind of look like a bodysuit, the way that it's styled. I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with the costume at all, but it does kind of look like a bodysuit. Like I understood kind of what she was saying, you know. In the long program, he is skating to a piece of music called Spiegel, I'm Spiegel, or Spiegel, I'm Spiegel, depending on where you're from. The first beats of the music, like Jason's already got me in the palm of his hand. It's just very subtle music with just enough contrast to like keep it from being monotonous and dull. And most people could not pull off music like this. They just could not do it. The triple axel was better, but it's still not confident. You got to undercall on it. And his best scoring jumping pass was a triple flip, double axel combo. He did a triple flip double toe instead of a triple toe. He did a double lutz. He underroaded a triple loop later in the program. And no second triple axel here. So I went back to look at his best scoring program because I'm always trying to brainstorm on how people can do better technically. Like what's the jump math that leads to the best path for them. And so Jason's best scoring program in the free skate was the 2023 Worlds, and he did 2 triple axels. He did a triple lutz, triple toe, and he also did a triple flip Euler, triple Salchow in the second half. And so that kind of a layout is kind of what Jason's going to need to do, probably if he really wants to try to compete in some of the Grand Prix that he's going to be in this fall, which I'm super excited that he's going to be in the Grand Prix. Now, first and foremost, he's got to do the tech content that he's got well. And so the triple axel is Jason's most difficult jump. He really needs that. It just wasn't working for him here. And I feel like it wasn't quite as consistent at nationals last year either. Like I think there was a 2-footed one, if I remember correctly. And so, but I do love both of these programs. I think I like them better than the Adios short program that he had last year, which I liked a lot because it was on my season's best list. So we'll see how the Tarzan improves over the year. And I think the long program is already looking fantastic. All right. In 4th place was Nikolai Mimola of Italy. His short program is to Nya, Nyah. It's from Mission Impossible 2. It's kind of this Spanish and flamenco style music. And every time I heard it, because I watched it a couple times, I'm like, who skated to this music last year? Like I've heard this music, and usually if it doesn't come to me immediately, like it will come to me like within a day, like who skated to this music. But I can't place it, and it's driving me crazy. So one of the choreographers listed for this one is Barbara Fuser-Poli, and she was actually in the Kiss and Cry with him also. Technically, the quad lutz right off the stop was just a total fail, but the triple axel did well, and it was an interesting program. It's another one that I feel like, let me see it again, let him get his feet under him a little bit. Nikolai is still kind of in the trying to figure out like how to really perform. Yet, thank goodness he has new programs, because last year it was still like the programs that he used in juniors. And so I think at least with some new programs, he'll get a chance to sort of sow some growth if it's there. In the free skate, he was much more successful with the quad lutz. Landed it right off the bat. He did a triple axel Euler, triple Salchow, and a triple axel, just like right out of the box. He did a sit spin that originally was invalidated. I thought maybe he didn't get far enough down or something, like one of those Cal Muir kind of situations that we saw last year. But upon review, they did award him with a level 2 whoopee and a V. So a lot of issues there. So a V can be awarded basically for 4 different situations. You can have a flying spin if there's no clear visible jump. That could be a reason why you get a V on there. If there's just one position with a change of foot, if you get less than 2 revolutions in a position, then that can cause a V. I don't think that was the case for him here, but there are reasons why you get a V. Like I said, I'm probably going to make a scoring video. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth at some point, because that's something that you see a lot, both in singles and in pairs. Now, this is something that can only happen in the free skate. I will throw that out there, because if you were to do something like that, which would get you a V in the free skate, it would get your spin invalidated in the short program, which may be why they initially invalidated. They may have had a brain fart about what program that they were in. And he also got a B on his combo spin too, so it wasn't just the sit spin. Did not get any level 4s on anything, not on footwork. Like I said, mentioned 2 spins, got Bs. Had an unclear edge call on his quad Lutz and got a full edge call on the triple Lutz. Plus the 2 V calls really cost him some points in what looked like a pretty clean program overall. He did pull himself up from 6th to finish 4th after the free skate. In 5th place was Dawai Dai of China. So not sure why Boyang wasn't there. So I've talked about, why Peng and Wang weren't there, why Wang and Lu weren't there. Not sure why Boyang wasn't there because we know how much they love him in China. We remember just the love that he got at Cup of China last season. But he wasn't here. So Dai Dai in the short program did a quad toe, triple toe. Unfortunately, he fell on a triple Lutz after doing a quad triple combo and a triple axel. Other than that, he would have scored 80 points, which would have been a fantastic score for him to get. In the long program, I thought he did as well as he could do with the tech content that he has. He did not do any quads, did not do any triples. So what he did was clean. He did get a Q call on a double loop, which was the 3rd jump in his 3 jump combo, which, feels kind of nitpicky, but fair. I've always really enjoyed his artistry. I remember him at Cup of China last year, and those 147 points that he got here would have been a personal best if this was a competition that counted toward those things. In 6th place here was Yudong Chen, who is coached by Raphael Arturian. In his short program, he was skating to a piece of music called Lose Control. Big quad salchow, but just could not control it and stepped out of it. He had a really nice triple axel, and I thought he had really good choreography and performance. In his free skate, the quad salchow looked pretty much identical to the short program. Great in the air, but big step out. He also had like a triple axel Euler, triple salchow combo. I really like that he has a lot of choreography early in his program. He doesn't wait till all of his jumps are over to start performing. He did fall on his 2nd triple axel, but everything else was really good. So one thing I'll note with him is in the kiss and cry, he had like this plush muscular bicep and he had a picture of his face on it. And so he showed it to the crowd and they got a real kick out of it, which the crowd here I thought was pretty muted. Like this venue is just weird. This is the same place that they had 4 Continents at last year. And there's like, the audience is like so far away from the rink. And it's just, I don't know. They just didn't seem like they were very excited. I don't know if it was just a small crowd or what, but they weren't very loud. All right, so that completes the men's event, and that just leaves the ladies. And so this event was won by Cheon Kim of South Korea. She is the reigning world bronze medalist, and right now she is the #1 Korean lady, especially with all the drama. So I talked about that in one of the earlier Challenger episodes, what's going on with Hyein Lee and Young Yu, so you can check out the Lombardia episode for all of that drama. But her short program is to Tron. I think this is a good choice for her. She's going to fall behind Cowrie and Isabeau and Luna in terms of her PCS. So a lot of times, like big dramatic pieces of music can kind of help camouflage some of those presentation deficiencies at times. And so I really enjoyed it. It just kind of ended a bit abrupt for me. In her free skate, she's skating to Whispers from the Heart by Carl Hugo and Love Dance from Cirque du Soleil. Nice music. She skates well to it. I'm just not sure that she connects to it in any special way. I'd love to see more emotion from her. The performance is there. Just a little bit more joy, I feel like, would go a long way. But it was a really strong performance. She had 7 triples, clean, no calls, couple of level 3 spins. I just feel like I should be more excited watching a 140 plus point free skate. And I just wasn't. Second place here was Brady Tennell of the U.S. We have not seen her in a year. It was last year at this same competition that we saw her. And she debuted the Turin Dot Long program that she's doing here. In the short program, though, she's skating to Lord of the Dance. So different from Riverdance. People get the two interchanged a lot. It is an interesting style for her. I will say, I think Brady can do just about any style. We've seen her go edgy. We've seen her go classical. And she just always manages to pull it off. The only thing is, I can't really think of a single memorable program from her. Like for me, the most memorable is probably her Florence and Machines short program that she did at Nationals back in 2021. Just she was so confident and came out and did that really well. But in terms of anything else, like I can't think of a single piece of music. I think was she doing Four Seasons maybe a couple years ago that she did well. It's just she always she has the potential to skate so well. I mean, I talked about during the I think it was the Lombardia episodes, like some of the best skates that we've seen from American women in the IGS era. Four of the top 10 all-time scoring best programs come from Brady. And so she technically has been far superior than a lot of the ladies that we've seen because she's had a consistent triple Lutz, triple toe combo. She tried a triple Lutz, triple loop combo for a while to try to get more points. It just didn't really work out for her. I mean, at one point she was trying to do a triple axel that really didn't work out for her. I think she caused her some injuries. But in terms of skating and technical, she's there. It's just I wish that her programs were a bit more memorable. And in this particular short program, I just feel like she just hasn't mastered it yet. So we'll see her in a couple weeks at Skate America, and we'll see how it looks then. In her free skate, she is skating to Turandot. And so she's only performed this once, so it does not have a lot of competition mileage on it. Just the one time. The footwork in the middle was really slow, so I wasn't surprised when she only got a level 2. She has a nice choreo sequence at the end with an Ina Bauer and a split jump and a spread eagle, but it just kind of seemed like it was slightly off to the music, and she was off on the music at the end. So I wonder if that sequence wasn't supposed to be on the swell of the music and she got kind of off on the footwork when she was going so slow. Usually a lot of times when somebody's off on the music is because they had a fall and they've got to get up and kind of regain their speed and kind of catch up. So the only thing that I could figure that would sort of have thrown her off was maybe the footwork sequence. But I think it's a decent program. Both of these programs I feel like might look better in a few more weeks. Third place here was Luna Hendricks of Belgium. Her short program is to Black and Gold. I thought maybe it was like an old piece of music because it had sort of a 20s, 40s kind of feel, but it's actually from 2015. So it's like just like 9, 10 years old. Very sassy like her programs last year. I don't love the ending. Like she ends at the boards, which I'm so over the using the boards. I mean, not covering Dennis 10, but the Mraz checks do some kind of move where she's actually like using the boards almost like a prop and like lifting herself off of it. I just, can we stop touching the boards? But she ends like right in front of the judges with like her leg up in the air in a split, which is a choice. I don't know. It's weird. Her long program is to a cover of I Believe from Cher. It's a welcome contrast from what we've gotten the last 2 seasons from her, in my opinion. I didn't love that she picked 2 very similar pieces to do last year. I like when there's a contrast between the short program and the free skate. And last year we got 2 poppy numbers from her that felt very similar to me. I didn't love the Fallen Angel program that she did 2 years ago. But this one I really liked. It was a rough jumping day for her, though, and she kind of faded at the end. So this wasn't her best performance, but I think that this can be a good, strong program for her. It's the short program I need a little bit more convincing on. In fourth place was Ekaterina Kurakova of Poland. And in her short program, she's doing a cover to Let's Get Loud. I really like that they're leaning into her personality. Like last year's Kill Bill didn't really work, and they changed it late in the season to more of a classical piece. But there's this really slow section in the middle of this program, and after it, she just really comes alive. Just full commitment on the step sequences. A couple of really dramatic knee slides. The costume is very interesting. It looks like something out of a ballroom competition with the high slit and the fringy bottom. The jumps, I mean, the combo is still a real struggle for her. What she does in the long program is an Euler combination, and that's able to get her a lot of points, but she can't do that in the short program. And so last year she just kind of gave up on the triple triple and started doing a triple double, which basically is kind of what's happened to her here. I mean, she did a triple flip, triple toe, but the triple toe doesn't get all the way around. She gets a full downgrade. So it's like, might as well do a triple toe, double toe anyway. But she loses so much base value from that. And so for her to really be able to compete, she's going to have to be able to work on that combo. In her free skate, she's skating to cats, complete with cat ears. And no, I'm not joking. She starts with McCavity, does her triple Lutz Euler triple flip combo to start, which is a great combination. But she gets very low GOE on her jumps in general, because I think she's got kind of a slow and kind of a very long setup into her jumps. So the big controversial thing with Katja's program is she has a costume change like right in the middle, and I'm not really sure what the point is. Like, she kind of looks like she's scratching herself because she's a cat, and she changes into a different costume, I guess, for the shock effect. Now, cats, if you've never seen cats, first of all, don't. Like, don't. Just listen to Memory, like on YouTube or on your music streaming of your choice, and you're good. You're good. It's a bunch of different cats singing songs. So my guess is that she's switching to be a different character because she changes and then Memory comes on. But this is the problem I have with Cats programs. Like, Cats is such a mess of a musical that there's no real story there. It's just, so it's kind of the same problem with the Cats programs. Like, I almost wish that people would use like just Memory as a piece than trying to combine other pieces, because I feel like they don't really come together. So again, it's early in the season. See how I feel about it as the season goes on. I don't hate it. Like, I don't hate it at all. I don't know. Maybe I still have PTSD from the Cats the musical, and it's been probably 15 years. All right. In fifth place here was Zhangji Han from China. And in her short program, she was skating to Voila, which I know a lot of people are saying that they're kind of sick of that one now. The pieces of music, they're refreshing and then they're old, and all in the span of 10 minutes. So she had a really bad fall in her triple flip at the start of her program. Otherwise, it was skated really well. Just a bit slow in compared to, some of the top ladies here. I missed her long program, so I was incorrect. It was not just the Chinese ice dance team that I missed. I also missed both of the free skates for these two Chinese ladies. And so in sixth place was Hongji Chen. Her short program is to Experience. Gorgeous dress. I think she's got a beautiful quality to her skating. Her jumps are just so inconsistent for her. She has a triple flip, triple toe to start. She stepped out of the toe. In the camel spin, I thought the position of the catch foot was just really not ideal. It just made me think of Dick Button. Like, he would have definitely cringed for sure. There's just so much more to spins and flexibility. I've never liked the way that spins are scored in the IGS, where everybody's got to do a catch foot or a Billman position to get a level 4 in a spin. It's just absurd to me. And I'm so frustrated that they still haven't managed to change that at all. The final layback spin was just very labored and slow. It wasn't a great position with her free leg. It was bent, and it just doesn't match the grace that she exuded in most of the program. So, but again, sorry, I missed the free skates on both of those ladies. But that completes the Shanghai Trophy. My goodness, I did not think I was going to talk for an hour about just a few handful of programs, but here we are. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. We've got another challenger coming up this weekend. It is Budapest Trophy. So I'll be covering that this weekend. And then in 2 weeks, we've got Skate America. So I'm excited. My flight is booked for Skate America. I can't wait to get to cover that one in person for a change, and not just from the comfort of my tablet or TV. So that'll be super exciting. We're so close to the Grand Prix starting. So as always, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. If you are watching the video, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening on your podcast, if you can subscribe to that as well so that you can get all of the recaps into your podcatcher. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope you enjoy some of the programs that I talked about here. And if I'm going to give out a Pam Chinko award this week, I'm going to give it to... Let's go with Jason's free skate. That's always easy. I think I'm also going to give a Pam Chinko award to Rin and Jing for their free dance. I really enjoyed that as well. All right. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.